Howdy everybody, thanks for tuning in for another Cruise with, that was rough. Cruise with Smooth. I hope y'all are doing okay today. Before I get started today, I had an idea that I wanted to kind of try to flesh out a little bit, but before I get started, the usual, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to know when new stuff goes up. And if there's anything that I haven't spoke about that you want to hear my opinion on, as always, feel free to comment and I'll get around to it. So, I had a thought the other night. There's a good buddy of mine. He used to practically be my neighbor, and life circumstances took him about 2.5 hours away. He moved about 4 or so years ago. Real solid guy. I think the world of him. He's one of the few people that I just really, really trust. And anyway, we'll just say that while he might have some interesting insights, he's older than me by about 20 some years. He doesn't look at things in the shades of gray that they are, typically. He looks at most issues as straight black and white, which some of them are, but not all of them. Just as an example, if you get him talking about disability recipients, he thinks that the abuses in the disability system necessitate, or at least warrant, the looking into of just doing away with it and coming up with something different. In my time on this earth, I have met very few people that were truly incapable of work. They might have been incapable of highly physical work. They might have been incapable of long hours. They might have been incapable of even full-time. But in my opinion, the people that I've met that are on disability could do something. Give you a case in point, a buddy of mine, he had to fight for disability because he could not get a job that would work within the confines of his doctor's orders for him, because he was all the areas that he had experience required some physical labor, nothing too strenuous, but he's got a heart condition. And so he managed to get full disability for that. And don't get me wrong, he's got a very serious heart condition. But one of the things that I don't and he's not abusing it. He had to work while his doctor was really not wanting him to, and then get disability later because he had to hire a disability attorney and all that. But one of the things that I don't necessarily understand is, okay, if you're working a job making X amount a year and you become disabled through whatever means, whether it's a workplace accident, a personal accident, whatever, I don't understand why disability doesn't kick in and immediately start paying out, and then as you recover from your injury and get to as good as you're going to get afterward. I don't understand why there's not necessarily like job scouting or even job training for something that you might not be good at, but that would fall within the restrictions that your doctor deems that you need to have. So, okay, for example, if I lost a limb, had a heart problem, had a breathing problem all of a sudden, and I can't do my job because it's fairly physical, disability would kick in. I've got disability through work, and I've got personal disability insurance outside of that. But suppose I didn't have those insurances. They start paying, and once I'm recovered and I know my new limitations from whatever it was, my doctor and I can figure out what would be a suitable line of work or suitable lines of work for me to pursue. And even if it's part-time due to ramifications from whatever happened, that's fine. But the disability system worked for attempting to help me find something to do, even if it's a part-time job as a clerk or a receptionist, office work. Disabled people could do a lot of driving jobs fairly easily. There was a driving job I looked into a few years back. I didn't take it because it didn't pay enough, but for a medical lab, they ran specimens from doctors' offices to labs to test them. And it was very straightforward work, nothing overly strenuous. And even if it was part-time, you would have the dignity, satisfaction, and fulfillment of earning some of your own money. And then disability could cover the rest. But I don't understand why you either are fully disabled or you're not disabled as far as the government is concerned. That I don't get. And I think that there should be some sort of happy middle ground on a lot of this stuff, and I don't think that there really is. But anyway, I said all that to say I'd really, 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 really enjoy hearing what my dad and my granddad would have to say about all this mess with coronavirus. They both had the same issue where their brain was hardwired directly to their mouth as this buddy of mine that's older than me. But when the situation called for it, they could be a little more tactful. And their opinions weren't always black and white. They could definitely come to the opinion of saying, well, that's a sticky or tricky situation. It's not just lazy people mooching off the government, or not just they need to get to work, or not just, well, that poor son of a gun, he can't do nothing to help himself. They were capable of much more nuanced opinions on a lot of stuff. So I would love to hear what they had to say about coronavirus and the response that we've had to it nationwide. And I'm not saying that the response that we've had is right or wrong. I'm not saying that their opinion would be right or wrong. I would just very much enjoy hearing about it. They both were fairly sharp, did well enough for themselves, and I remember asking my dad's advice on a lot of stuff after I was an adult, and even as I had been an adult for a number of years. He had a interesting way of looking at things that I think only comes from having had the sheer number of gray hairs that he had. I've been told I think a lot like my dad, but I wish I felt as smart as I wish I was as smart as I thought I was when I was 18. I tell you what, though, the coronavirus pandemic, for people that had their faith in the government to fix everything, depending on how long this goes on and how many small businesses and employers end up having to lay off workforce and things like that, y'all, I think that's going to open a lot of eyes, because the government cannot be all things to fix all things. And I've had this opinion for a while. The longer that businesses are shuttered and things aren't happening, the slower the recovery will be, even with the stimulus money that's coming. Because I heard that the application process for these federally guaranteed small business loans is a nightmare, somewhere around there. So it's I don't particularly think that the government's going to end up solving as many problems as everyone's hoping they do. But it's very rare that I'll look to the government to solve problems. In my humble opinion, more and more application of government funding and government spending and government influence typically causes problems. Don't get me wrong, there are times when the threat of government punishing you for bad actions is enough to make you behave. But there are a lot of times when government deciding that something's a problem and then moving to fix it does absolutely nothing, or makes it worse. There's definitely a lot of appeal to libertarian arguments and points of view on a great many issues. I don't I think that by and large, people that are not placed within the confines of government bureaucracies are way better at tackling whatever issue you come up with in a better way, cheaper, faster, and more effectively than people that are tied down in government bureaucracies. Bills have to be signed. You have to compromise to get a bill passed, even though it's going to do good the way it is. Having legislation that's hundreds or thousands of pages thick to get everyone happy. I think that, okay, I'm going to lay out a controversial opinion here. While I don't particularly think that the Green New Deal bill was any good, and no one, including the bill's author, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, did either, because she did not vote to pass her bill. She voted present on her bill. Something a lot of you don't know. I think that it was too vague. I think that it was too open-ended, and the fact that she wanted to have mandatory government spending for those that were unwilling to work, it's in the bill. Read it if you don't believe me. I think that was ridiculous. However, the one thing that I will give her props for on crafting legislation, if you will, is the entire bill was 5 pages. Granted, in all that, she wanted to move away from all carbon-based fuels in 5 years, rebuild every building if necessary so that it would be eco-friendly, or retrofit every building, government funding for solar panels and eco-energy, no banning further nuclear power plants. So there was a ton of stuff that was green in this bill, but it was only 5 pages. I think that's fantastic, because you don't have people either not reading it or staying up till 5 in the morning reading it and then going back into work the following morning. So I'm not a huge fan of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm not a fan at all of the Green New Deal. But I think that the fact that she got that legislation written in 5 pages, I think that's fantastic. So, anyway, I think that bills should be shortened as stimulus package. If they wanted to pass the stuff that they did, that's all fine and dandy. I don't have an argument against it on the surface. It's just that I don't trust the government to do anything effectively. So I think that people that should be getting the money, especially the small business owners and contractors, things like that, I think they're going to have a very difficult time getting their money. And I don't know that it's all going to go to good, and I think that if someone wanted to be fraudulent right now with the government, they could go hog wild and make a killing off of this spending bill. My opinion, could be wrong. I hope I am. But why do people stop here? What was I saying? I hope that there's not a lot of fraud in all this. I think it would be terrible if they did. I think it would be terrible if they to see Americans try to take advantage of other Americans, which is essentially what you'd be doing, because all this is taxpayer funded money, and all this debt's going to have to go back or be repaid somehow. So I think it would be a terrible thing to see Americans take advantage of Americans like that. But what can you do? Because the government, they're realistically in this bill, there's probably stipulations on how long it takes the application process to go through. And so you could form a LLC, fudge together a bunch of books showing you made X amount of money, and then take out a loan or a grant from this stimulus money and have a boatload of cash. So I'm not a fan of it. Anyway, I'm almost where I gotta go. I might try to do something on the way home. Hope y'all are doing okay. Hope y'all are staying safe. Hope y'all aren't going crazy. I guess that's about it, because I'm about where I gotta get. So, y'all stay safe out there. Thanks for tuning in.